What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over the trades that we took today inside the Discord, as well as the game plan going into tomorrow. So today, really slow day. Market didn't do much, and we actually didn't end up getting any trades when it came to SPY. So going into today, the 30-minute chart tells me the trend in the market. Overall, bigger picture, the bulls did have the trend going into today, or not going into today, but like right off of open, you could see this 50 SMA was sloped down. So I was just taking the market as neutral today, since that 50 was sloped down. As you guys know, the 50 has to be flat or curling up for us to be, in a valid trend or for a valid cross. So, eventually the 50 did slope up here at like 10:30, and then at that point I was pretty much just focused on the call side. But I was still open to taking either side today for a cross. Like down in here, we ended up wicking off the 50 because obviously that's major support. But if the puts did cross, I would have taken an entry, because at that point, by the time the puts actually got the 10 crossing the 50, we would have been breaking below it. So that could have resulted in a bigger move, since this chart would be crossing negative. So really today, either side would have worked. But yeah, we didn't get any crosses. If we go to the 0DT charts, 5-minute time frame here, you can see what happened. No cross either side of the premium. Right here we did get a cross, but 50 never curled up, so there's no entry. For you guys that don't know, the 50 SMA has to be flat or curling up for us, for it to be a valid cross. So we got the cross. That's step one. Step two, 50 SMA flat. It wasn't, so there was no entry there, and we were just chopping up and down all day, so we didn't take any entries. You can see on the put side, nothing came about. We ended up hitting the 50 here a couple times. No cross ended up happening out of the put side, so there was no trades to take. On days like today, these are the days you have to survive. We're not really moving too much. The 30-minute chart is just chopping around. 0DT's neutral intraday, since there's no crosses. You just have to wait for your trade. If nothing comes about, you just don't take a trade. Don't force trades they don't need to be taking. Like, yeah, in hindsight, these 50 rejects looks beautiful to take trades off of, but at the end of the day, I'm looking for that cross to take my entry point. Because you can see we end up rejecting this 50 like multiple times on the put side, and then even on the call side we end up rejecting it a few times. And yeah, in hindsight you could be like, oh, you could have just shorted or took a trade off of the 50. It rejected so many times. But I've kind of strayed away from taking those types of trades. I used to when I first started trading the system, but now I'm more so only focused on the crosses. I'm looking for the 10 crossing the 50, positive or negative crosses. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up the day for SPY. Really not much to talk about, because there wasn't any trades to take. Going into tomorrow, obviously 30-minute chart here is still crossed. I don't really have, I know we're crossed here, but I don't really have a strong bull bias or bear bias. 50 SMA has sloped down a little bit, so who knows what's going to happen. If this chart crosses negative tomorrow, if we lose the 50 tomorrow, we're going to see a move to the downside, and we're most likely going to be taking a put cross. So like I always say, there's a trade for both sides of the market going into tomorrow. The one side could be the downside. If we lose this 50 here on the 30-minute, this 10 SMA is going to cross below the 50, and that's going to send us lower, and we're going to get a put cross most likely out of that. If we don't drop tomorrow, then this 50 is going to hold, bulls are going to hold the trend, and we're going to be taking a call cross. So it's very simple. This 30-minute chart will really help you decide what direction you want to be trading. Yeah, like right now, sure, bulls are favored slightly, but 50 SMA is down. I'm not too confident with how this chart looks at the moment. I would need to see some more price action develop and see where we end up tomorrow at open, see if there's any gap up, gap down, and see how the first 30 minutes go to kind of give me a sense of direction. But I just gave you the two sides for tomorrow. That's what I'm going to be looking for, and it's pretty simple. Just follow the system, follow the crosses. You're going to do well, and keep your risk tight. Let your winners run. 50 to 100 points at NQ, like in a neutral market. You want to be taking all your profits off at like 50 points on NQ. For options, if you're taking SPY 0DTs when you're playing these crosses, okay, in a neutral market, take your 40-50% in a neutral market and pack it up for the day. In a trending market, like when this 30-minute chart is crossed, so for today, for instance, if we got a cross on the call side, I'd be looking for 50 to 70 points. Honestly, with how today's price action was, though, I probably would have just been looking for 50 points, honestly. Action wasn't the best, and we weren't really moving too much. So, 50 points, trim half, and then, let the rest ride, the other half ride to maybe, who knows, 100 points, 80, 90 points. Really all depends on the conditions of the market. Like, today we weren't really moving too much, so maybe I would have just taken everything off at 50 points. But on a typical good trend day, I'm looking for like 60 to 80 points on NQ to take a trim, move my stop loss to break even, hold the rest for 100 points in profit. So, okay, yeah, you could literally just see that 30-minute candle just updated. So, the 50 SMA is pointing down even more. So, I just consider the market neutral at this point. There's no, this chart isn't good on the 30-minute. 50's pointed down. Not the best looking chart for bulls. And like I said, if we get this chart to cross negative tomorrow, we should see some type of good move. Like if we get this negative cross, if we get a put cross tomorrow, those two things paired up, that'll be a really good trade, and that's what you're going to want to look out for. In every video, I always tell you what to look out for, and you just have to wait for it to happen. Wait for the cross to happen on either side tomorrow, and take your entry when we cross, and you're going to get paid. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for SPY. I did close out BABA. I ended up swinging this from yesterday. Like I said yesterday, I was up 55-60% on this, and I took a trim. Stop loss went even, got hit on even on the other half. But yeah, it was pretty much just a break above this high day right here on 1017. We ended up breaking that high day, went long in BABA, got 55-60%. And yeah, I'm currently in another swing, which I haven't closed yet. It's kind of just consolidating at the moment. So I'll go over that when we end up closing it. But that's pretty much all we did today. There really wasn't much going on, and that's pretty much the game plan going into tomorrow. You just gotta wait for the crosses, and when we get them, you take your entry and set your stop loss, closure below the 50, and it's pretty simple. That's all you gotta do. But yeah, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed, drop a sub. If you guys want to learn, join Discord down below. But yeah, I'm out. Peace.